Adil, Muntasar, good to have you on the show. Now, before we get into the 2012 details, I'd like to get your take on what 2011 was like for you.
It was all about Vettel and Red Bull. Adrian knew his genius and how he took a quantum leap over everyone else. In Formula One, the car is almost 70%, 75%, and then 25% is up to the driver. And I always believe, as has been shown by history, a good car needs a good driver. Otherwise, you'll have a good car and an average driver who might win a Grand Prix or two, but he might not win back the big prize. I think Vettel was a perfect driver in the perfect car, a team which is now well-oiled, very hungry to win, and they had the advantage. And you saw this happening. A good team like Ferrari was nowhere. They were just blown off. McLaren was blown off. It was only about, I think, Jenson Button who gave McLaren some solidity in that sense. But by and large, the destruction in the mind caused by Vettel, Newey and the Red Bull, it was awesome. I hope we don't have that sort of domination this year.
Absolutely. It's a known fact that all the top guys in F1 are at one place, and they're at Red Bull Racing. Frank Williams made a statement, in fact, recently that it was a big mistake to let Newey go to Red Bull. And you've got Vettel coming up from Toro Rosso a few years back, and that team has just come up to be one of the best teams that F1 has probably ever seen.
Yeah, but the thing is that about this Frank Williams statement of letting Newey go to Red Bull, but he should not have let Newey go to McLaren in the first place. And that was his big loss, because he never won or recovered from that loss ever since.
Well, Muntasar, you've been up to speed as to all the changes that have been happening in 2012. You want to outline some of these new changes?
Lots of new changes, especially with the car. You've got the step noses coming in. That's basically because of a new rule change that determines that the noses have to be dropped to a certain height in the front of the tires, basically the frontal area of the nose cone. You've got new tires coming in from Pirelli. They've better compounds. You've got the Cinturato brand coming in for the wet and intermediate tires. Exhaust blown diffusers are outlawed, so no more advantage out there for Red Bull, and Ferrari tried that with a lot of success as well. Lots of changes in terms of the side pod design, more stringent impact testing. You've got changes in overall management as well. The safety car rules, you've got changes in terms of overtaking. And of course, you've got a mid-season test coming back into Formula One, which is going to be very important.
Highlight a little bit more about the safety car element that you were talking about.
The safety car element is very simple, actually. Earlier, what used to happen is when the safety car used to come out onto the track in the middle of a lap, a lot of the cars that were lapped already used to be bunched up in front of the front runners. So from 2012 onwards, what they're going to do is they're going to allow those cars to lap themselves back out, so they join back at the back of the grid. So all the front runners don't have to contest any traffic when the race restarts.
I think this is a very important thing, because in Indy racing, this is the way it's done, and they pick up the leader and they allow everyone to be there. But there as well, in some races, those super speedways, they don't allow the lapped runners. It's only critically when the stewards decide that. But here in Formula One, this will add a good new dimension to things. And I also believe that how they master this one overtaking rule, you make a move and you have to stick, you don't come back. So I would like to see how many guys adhere to it, both in word and in spirit.
Also, Adil, what is your take on the no-blown diffusers and the step nose?
It's the year of the ugly, that way. And the blown diffusers are gone. So in a way, there's a level playing field. So whosoever tries to get his preparation right, those tiny increments they make, and here experience will count. Of course, experience means nothing if the car is not fast aerodynamically. So assuming that everyone is close to each other aerodynamically, then is the absolutely minutest of refined setup details which are coming across into play. Those will count. Experience in the minds of guys like Alonso or a returning Kimi Raikkonen. I must say that we've got 6 world champions of the grid this year, with a combined total of 15 world championship titles among the 6. I think nowhere in history in the Formula One have we seen drivers having won 15 cumulative world championships going head to head. I would like to see each one of these win at least a Grand Prix this year. I think it'll spice up the show and it'll be the best advertisement for F1 this year.
I think it's also a good time to bring in Narain Karthikeyan at this point. Now, Narain, good to have you on the show. Now, of course, we've been talking about the step nose. Now, what do you think? What kind of an effect do you think that it will have for teams, for cars itself, as well as drivers?
I don't think it'll affect the drivers in any way. It's just the regulations, and some of the cars like the McLaren, we don't have it, and one or two other teams don't have it. So it's all got to do with the optimization of the aerodynamics. That's what it is. It won't make any difference to the driving whatsoever.
I must add one more thing here to Narain. Everyone always said that a car may look as ugly as possible, but if it starts winning, it's the most beautiful car. So we want to see which of these uglies is going to be the most beautiful car at the end of the year. The only team which seems to have a beautiful car going into the season is McLaren. But has McLaren aired on competitiveness and banked on beauty? Well, the jury is out. Let's wait for the first couple of GPs to see what really works, beauty or the step nose.
Time now to take a look at the teams and drivers that are going to line up at the grid at Albert Park. Now, the old prophecy about the world ending this year might just be folklore. But what is not is the fact that the 2012 Formula One season will see 6 world champions battle it out against each other for ultimate glory. Something that couldn't be predicted. With 18 other drivers on the grid, a total of 24 drivers piloting 12 teams will make for a battle of epic proportions. Here's a quick look at the lineup for the 2012 Formula One season. Behind the wheels of Team Vodafone McLaren Mercedes is 2009 World Champion Jenson Button and his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who holds the 2008 championship, both from the United Kingdom. Taking the seat for Scuderia Ferrari is 2005 and 2006 World Champion Fernando Alonso from Spain, along with Brazilian teammate Felipe Massa. Team Mercedes AMG Petronas has none other than 7-time World Champion Michael Schumacher, with fellow German Nico Rosberg as his teammate. This year will also see the return of none other than 2007 World Champion Kimi Raikkonen from Finland for the Lotus F1 team, with Frenchman Romain Grosjean as his teammate. Lower down the order, Sahara Force India has drivers Paul de Resta from the UK and Nico Hülkenberg from Germany. Sauber F1 team is piloted by the Japanese Kamui Kobayashi and the Mexican Sergio Perez. Scuderia Toro Rosso has Daniel Ricciardo from Australia and Jean-Éric Vernet from France. Driving the Williams F1 team forward is Venezuelan Pastor Maldonado and the nephew of legendary Ayrton Senna, Bruno Senna from Brazil. The Caterham F1 team has Heikki Kovalainen from Finland and Vitaly Petrov from Russia. Our very own Narain Karthikeyan will be driving for the HRT F1 team with driver Pedro Della Rosa as his teammate. And finally, the Marussia F1 team will be piloted by Timo Glock from Germany as well as Charles Pic from France. Well, now that you know what the lineup at Albert Park is going to look like, Muthu sir, where's the action going to be?
The action at the moment seems in the middle order. They're taking a big step forward. Of course, the top teams are pretty much untouchable. Testing times count for nothing in real racing terms. We'll see how that pans out after Albert Park.
But there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. Raikkonen's return, him actually coming and topping the time charts.
It's been a feature of Formula One pre-season testing. Whenever lesser grid teams on the lesser part of the grid try to make an impression, for whatever reasons, try to drop in new sponsors or whatever, they don't know what fuel loads they are running. They don't know what engine they are using in that sort of, it's a Banzai couple of lap engine or something. So these fun and games happen. Suddenly you find a car HRT setting second quickest time in practice, and oh why, wonderful, where have they found this 3 seconds from? So in this sort of, so actually speaking, once you have first qualifying pan out at Albert Park, you'll get some reckoner as to how the season will pan out and what is the true pecking order.
Sir, any updates on the newcomers and some of the champions that are going to be playing?
Loads of newcomers. We already talked about the champions. There's 6 champions on the grid. Kimi Raikkonen's come back, and I'm sure there are lots of people out there who want to see him go out and win. Whether or not it happens the way Michael Schumacher returned is still a question. We'll see what happens with Raikkonen after Albert Park. But of course, you've got him partnered by Romain Grosjean, the GP2 champion. He's a quick driver.
As a second coming back in, is a return
yes.
for him to F1, right?
Yes. So both those drivers coming back. Renault obviously, or Lotus, are obviously holding out for Robert Kubica to come back, but that's a different story. You've got other new drivers. You've got Hülkenberg coming back to a race seat.
Hülkenberg is a fine talent, and mind you, he needs a good solid car under him, which I think this year's Force India, again, it was knocking at the heels of the top teams last year in the early half, before it lost its edge a little bit, and then made a solid midfield running to garner its eventual position in the World Championship, beating Sauber, which was very good. I think this year, they need to pull something out of the hat. They have to make that one step up.
Because going down the order, we've also got Naren Karthikeyan who's coming back with the HRT team.
Ask him.
Well, the plan is to stick to the whole season. Formula One, anything can happen, but you know, obviously I'll try and do my best. And you always, you know, gauge against your teammate who's pretty high-profile, known quantity. And I have to just do my job and try and you know, get the car home. And the first few races are going to be difficult, as we did no pre-season testing. But you know, we'll all work very hard at it, and already we are one step ahead from last year. You know, we didn't do any laps until practice 3 in Melbourne and failed to qualify. So this year that's not going to be the scenario, and I'm very confident I can put up a good show this year.
Muthu sir, finally to close up, a lot of renaming, a lot of rechristening happening. Can you get us up to speed with that?
Yes, Renault is now Lotus. That row had been going on for quite some time. So Tony Fernandez has decided to use the Caterham name for his team, which solves quite a bit of confusion, I think, for
and also does it because Caterham came up from Lotus in the truest sense of the term.
Absolutely. Then you've also got Mercedes, which has added the AMG name. Very, very good move, in fact.
Provided they win. Otherwise, AMG, they need to win.
They might just play the other way around.
Yeah.
So that's the naming thing going on right now.
Muthu sir, pre-season testing results, I think you're the best guy to get us up to speed with. What does that actually mean in terms of how it's going to line up at the grid?
Absolutely nothing. Pre-season testing is basically about getting that baseline for your car setup, from where you set up cars for individual Grand Prix. And beyond that, there's a lot of conning going on here and there, showing who's fastest, showing who's not fastest, hiding some of the developments that the teams will show during the Grand Prix. But yes, impressive that Raikkonen did top the charts in all 3 pre-season testings as a cumulative total. Raikkonen was the fastest, shows a lot about Lotus, and actually shows a lot about his confidence levels.
I think it's also about spicing up the show. The Formula One Grand Prix conglomeration across this best address as a circus. So you need some new performer come and spice up the show. Qualifying at Albert Park and the first race will give you some idea as to the competitiveness of each team, but it will be in Europe that you will get a semblance of who would be the guys battling for the big prize.
Well, I think we'll make our educated guesses soon, but any other big stories coming out of the testing?
Of course, out of testing,
Force India?
Force India, of course, they've been right up there. Not the fastest times in any of the tests, but right
solid.
up there. Very solid.
Very solid.
Well, while the fun and games are going on, let's quickly take Adil, your educated guesses as to what the lineup is going to look like at Albert Park.
I'm not going to make any guesses, but I'll say my heart's rules shouts out for Germans to do good, Vettel and Schumacher. And by that same yardstick, you also have got Hülkenberg, Rosberg. So maybe yes, let's see I would be delighted to see Michael and Vettel on the first row of the grid.
What about you, Manju sir?
I'd love to see a surprise. I'd love to see Raikkonen back in there. Maybe not on the first row. It seems
But
a
in the
little
first 2-3 rows,
but
if he's
definitely up there. That would be wonderful. I've always been a wonderful fan of Raikkonen. According to me, he's one of the last old school kind of drivers left in Formula One, and it'll be good.
Goes
to see.
really banzai, flat out all the time. It's really good. Everything in Formula One is about grip and aerodynamics. So aerodynamic grip, if it is there, your cars are flyer. If you don't have that and you have the most powerful engine, it won't work. So I think we need to see which of these cars has got that aero edge over the others.
See, this edge that Adil is talking about also extends over to the Zigwheels Racer magazine. What is that going to be looking like this year?
Muntasar has got responsibility for packing in the contents every month, so I think he's best
So,
qualified to ask.
what can we look forward to in Zigwheels Racer?
Well, of course, the April issue is going to have a complete season preview, and we have that coming in from none other than Karun Chandok himself. That's there. Of course, we have MotoGP, we have all the action from WRC, WSB, Indian Motorsports, and we're also tracking quite a few of our Indian drivers racing abroad.
This year, I think Indian drivers will proliferate in many series. Formula One, Naren, the pioneer for India in the topmost medium of the sport, is there, and he's there for the full season, as you heard him. Karun is doing a whole season of World Sports Car Endurance Championship, and he'll be the first Indian, hopefully, to be on the grid at the Le Mans 24 hours this year. I think this can only be good for Indian motorsport. I just hope that the guys running Indian motorsport are true to the sport and not just to themselves. That's it. I don't want to say anything more. But yes, there's a big year for Indian motorsport, and it's doing well.
All right, guys, before we wind up, some information is coming about new tracks coming in for 2012. Muntasar, what's the update on that?
Just one track, that's the USGP. It's slated for the end of the season. It's around 18th November. But the bigger news from that is the Bahrain GP, of course. Quite a bit of a political situation still happening there. Bernie and gang are saying that they will go. But sources say that the inside situation in Bahrain is still not stable. Still a bit of a balanced thing happening out there.
Well, with that, we take the checkered flag this week for continued coverage of F1 as well as every other major motorsport on the planet. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Zigwheels Racer, India's first and foremost motorsport magazine. Of course, keep sending in your queries, questions, comments to zigwheels@etnow.tv, and you can also check out our online portal, that's www.zigwheels.com. And if you are a Facebook user, don't forget to log in there and check us out on Facebook. But pretty much all the time that I have this week. Until next week, it's goodbye from me, Rishabh Matharu, and keep revving.